Hey everyone, this is Kaizouwar here, and it's really hard to believe that Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 is now a thing. Even after hearing about its release a while back, it's just the sole fact that it's existing and out and about that it feels so weird to talk about in this current day. This is 2021. Evangelion is still relevant in these days. I mean, this is Evangelion, and I love Evangelion. Honestly, really love Evangelion. I've been a fan for a long time. Now, I didn't exactly grow up with Evangelion. I mean, I guess I kind of did, because I remember seeing it for the very first time on Adult Swim, the OG series. Funny enough, I did see that whole edit thing they did with the whole cartoon robot thing, like they did on Cartoon Network, and that's where they introduced it when they had that version of Evangelion that was really neutered and really censored. I remember that, but it got me interested to see how they're going to do it if I ever saw more of it. And anime content back then, outside of YouTube or like finding obscure DVDs anywhere, it was like a struggle. You know, there was no way I was going to find one, and you know, there was no way I was going to afford it because I had no money as a kid. So when they aired the entire series on Adult Swim on edit, I was like, yeah, I can finally watch Evangelion. And I fell in love with the series ever since then at that point. As regards of end of Evangelion, I don't know how I got access to it, honestly, because they never aired end of Evangelion outside of anything else, right? I think I remember getting a DVD once. Like, it was like one of those DVDs I burnt, or somebody burnt for me, and I remember getting it that way. And God, those were the days, man. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if it was a DVD or VHS. It was like way long ago, but I remember seeing end of Evangelion back then. Really shouldn't. I was too young to understand what the hell was going on, and then I kind of got spooked myself. So yeah, that was my history from with at least the OG Evangelion series back in the day. I never actually saw like Evangelion Death and Rebirth until I got like way older. That's because I did like a binge watch of Evangelion a while back, but I'll talk about that a little later. There's also the first two Rebuild movies I saw on Adult Swim. Adult Swim had this thing called the Toonami Months of Movies. Now, Adult Swim and Toonami, they did air movies at random times. You know, when they usually come on, it's like, oh, we're airing a movie, it's coming on, like, et cetera, et cetera. But it was during the month of movies where I got to see the movies back to back. They aired the first two Rebuild movies, that being Evangelion 1.0 and then Evangelion 2.0. And I also saw my favorite anime movies there on those month of movies. For example, Summer Wars was my favorite. Is my favorite anime movie of all time. That's how I saw it for the very first time, because thanks to Toonami. I also saw Hellsing Ultimate, or at least the last bits of it, because they spread out Hellsing Ultimate like throughout Saturdays and whatnot, and then like they aired the last two OVA episodes on the month of movies Toonami had. I also saw Dragon Ball Z Broly again, and I also saw Akira, you know, stuff like that. And not too long ago, I think about a couple of years ago, I started rewatching all of Ava's media to try to prepare myself, you know, for, you know, just to relive the series again. I started watching all the Rebuild movies again. I started rewatching the OG series and End of Ava like a few more times. I play some games. I've played a lot of Evangelion games. They're on my channel, and I play some off screen. For example, I played the very first Girlfriend of Steel game off screen. I never actually recorded. I did record Girlfriend of Steel 2, which is actually my most watched Let's Play on my channel. Maddening. And I also reread the Evangelion manga. I just felt like redoing the series in a way where I can actually get access to it, because back in the day I couldn't get access to this shit. Like, stuff like this I had to get lucky on. I mean, even to this day I don't own any kind of Evangelion media. Like, I don't even own anything Ava. Everything I've seen is online, and I kind of had no choice to, because Evangelion media is expensive, and like most of the shit they have is out of print anyway. So like, yeah, but there's a Blu-ray coming up. There's a Blu-ray coming up with all the series, all stuff for the series, which is crazy. So now that whole dumbass introduction out of the way, I want to talk about the dub cast, because as everyone knows, Evangelion originally had an ADV cast. Now, Evangelion has several dubs throughout its lifetime, but I want to, put emphasis on the ADV cast. So the ADV cast was the at least most noticeable English dub cast from the very early days of, dubbing Evangelion. And not too long after that, I think the ADV, like when Death and Rebirth came out and End of Evangelion, they didn't replace everyone, but they replaced. Actually, no, they didn't replace everyone. ADV wasn't doing that dub. Somebody, a company known as Manga Entertainment did like Death and Rebirth and Evangelion, End of Evangelion, my bad. And there was more. I think there was another dub. There was also a Netflix dub. I'm not going to talk about that in this video because honestly, there's no feel like reason to. But as much as I don't like as much as I really don't like the Netflix dub, it's at least Evangelion is on Netflix, and more people can see it that way. Even though it's not my favorite way of seeing it, it's not my recommended way of seeing it. But because they're bringing out this DVD collection, more people get to see it, and I'm kind of happy about that. But anyway, I want to talk about the dub cast. So in regards of Evangelion 3.0. Now 3.0, 1.0, Amazon Prime now has access to the rights of Evangelion, or at least the end of Evangelion. I'm sorry, I keep saying end of Evangelion, I'm sorry. Rebuild of Evangelion, I'm sorry. They have the rights to the rebuild of Evangelion. And they just took it upon themselves to not only dub the 3.0 plus 1.0 movie, they also had to go back and redub the older movies. And that being 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. And they brought back Spike Spencer as Shinji. They brought back Allison Keith as Masato. They brought back John Swasey as Gendo. They brought back Tiffany Grant as Asuka Shikinami. And Felicia, I can never pronounce her name, Felicia Angel as Sakura Suzuhara. Now, those are the ones they brought back for 3.0 plus 1.0, and they're the ones who have had to go back and essentially redub the rest of the series. Now they did replace a good amount of voice actors. There was some surprises in this, right? For example, Rei Ayanami, who's been voiced by Brina Palencia as of Rebuild, is no longer voicing Rei. Amanda Wynn Lee, the original voice actress for Rei, way back in the original ADV dub, is actually Rei again. And so that means now not only she's Rei for 3.0 plus 1.0, but now she's Rei again for all the Rebuild movies, which came as a surprise. I don't know why Amanda Wynn Lee didn't voice Rei in the Rebuilds in the first place. I did like Brina Palencia though, don't get me wrong. I think they're pretty both good. It's because I haven't heard Amanda Wynn Lee as Rei. It feels a little bit like a shock there, I haven't heard her in so long. I'm like, oh god, I forgot. I forgot what she sounded like, because like the last time I've heard her was End of Evangelion. Way back. There's also Fuyutsuki. They brought Fuyutsuki back because, like in the original anime, he was a different voice actor, but in like End of Eva, the manga entertainment version of Fuyutsuki, he was voiced by Michael Ross, and I think he was Michael Ross in Death and Rebirth. I think they manga entertainment handled both End of Eva and Death and Rebirth, so he was Michael Ross in End of Eva and Death and Rebirth, and they brought him back for Amazon's dub of the Rebuild movies, which is actually really crazy to me. There's also another voice for Kaoru. Kaoru is also voiced by Danan Mills in this Amazon dub. And the thing is, Kaoru had a bunch of different voice actors throughout his lifetime. There was Kyle Servant in the ADV dub. There was Aaron Cron in the Manga Entertainment dub. He was Greg Arias in the director's cut of Evangelion. He was Jerry Jewell in the Funimation dub of Rebuild. He was Clifford Chapman in the Netflix version of Rebuild in the original series. So, there's a bunch of... Kaoru just can't keep a voice actor to save his life. The same thing goes for Toji. Toji did have several different voice actors throughout his lifetime. There was this dude named Joe Pisano who dubbed him from episodes 3 to 18. There was a guy named Michael O'Connor who voiced it from episodes 19 to 20. And funny enough, there's this guy named Brett Weaver that voiced Toji in episode 26 when he was inside Shinji's head during Instrumentality. And now he's back for the Amazon dub as older Toji, which is pretty crazy. Another person who came back was Kimberly Yates. Kimberly Yates was the voice actress for Hikari back in the Manga Entertainment dub of Evangelion, and now she's back for the Amazon dub. It's so weird. They brought all these people back. They were able to. It's crazy. Really, it was crazy. But there are some stinkers in here. While everyone else is pretty manageable, there are some stinkers I do not like. For example, Mari is now voiced by a woman named Deneen Melody in Amazon dub. Before, she was voiced by a woman named Trina Nishimura in Rebuild, and I'm not a fan of Mari's new voice actress. It's just something about it doesn't hit right. She doesn't have the energy that Mari had, and it's like even worse when she's in battle and you hear her try to be more expressive during combat, and it just doesn't feel right. It's like something that Trina Nishimura did Mari really well, and whatever your opinions on Mari may be, I personally believe she had a good English voice actress, and I'm just not a fan of Divinity Melody. There's also Ritsuko, who used to be Colleen Clickenbeard back in the Rebuilds, but now she is voiced by Mary Faber and the Amazon dub. And I'm not a fan of her either. Honestly, Colleen Clickenbeard is a very good voice actress, and I understand why they couldn't get her back. But Mary Faber is not a good Ritsuko. I will admit that. Ugh. There's also a character named Midori Kitakami, I think, and she was one of the Vile members in Evangelion 3.0. She was voiced by Tia Ballard before, but now she's voiced by a woman named Bijou Vaughn in the Amazon dub. Definitely not a voice. I think she's the worst of all the ones they got back for the rebuilds, the Amazon dub. I definitely don't like her. I know it's probably direction, really, because the way some of these characters speak their lines and the redubs, it just sounds off. Some of the characters' voices just sound wrong in the redubs. There's something off about how they speak. They have to speak really fast in some cases. They can't. Their lines are broken up in weird ways. Studio Khara is more hands-on with these redubs, and you can definitely tell they are treating as there's something lost about it. There's also Ryoji Kaji, who was voiced by J. Michael Tatum back in the original Rebuild dubs, but now he's voiced by Sean Burgos, and I'm not a fan of Kaji. The way Kaji sounds like he's in a different location when he's getting dubbed or something like that. Something about it just doesn't sound right. It's like the mixing sounds off with Kaji. He sounds like some kind of parody of somebody dubbing themselves, and they're putting it in an actual dub. It just but yeah, those are for me personally, I prefer the original Funimation dubs. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm happy they brought back some characters back. I'm happy they brought back some people that really feel like they're doing the ADV dub again. They're actually bringing back a lot of people that used to be in that original dub, and that's actually really cool. But there are some characters that are stinkers. I'm not a fan of Ritsuko. I'm not a fan of Mari. I'm not a fan of Midori, even though you barely see her, but she really does ruin every line she speaks. And I'm not a fan of Kaji, and that's a damn shame too, because I actually liked all their voices before. I personally believe the Funimation dub did them really, really well. But hey, you can't have everything. You can't really have everything. I'm just happy they did the best they could. They did the best they could. Studio Khara is just. Can I speak about Studio Khara for a second? I didn't even talk about the movie yet. I didn't even talk about 3.0 plus 1.0 yet. But Studio Khara is a piece of shit. Can I just say that? I remember when I was making my 1.0 and 2.0 videos, and they would give me a copyright strike and block my videos just for using screenshots from those movies when they've already been out. Now, if I can understand if I was making a video about this right now, 3.0 plus 1.0, and using screenshots, totally understand. Because that'll be spoilers, and they don't want that. But when I made videos about 1.0 plus 2.0, they kept striking me, copyright striking me and shit like that. And they kept blocking my videos. So I just made it a podcast style because it was bullshit. So yeah, hopefully this video is not going to be ruined and blocked for whatever reason, because I freaking hate them. Anyway, now I can finally talk about 3.0 plus 1.0 13 minutes in. Nearly 14 minutes in the video. Anyway. So the movie of 3.0 plus 1.0 begins with a recap of the previous movie. They start talking about a little bit about how 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 went down. And then we cut to Ville in Paris, France. And I guess I said before, you start the movie with Mari singing, and I'm just not a fan of her new voice actress. I'm just not, damn it. There's something about it. The name Melody just does not have the same energy. When she's talking as Mari, fair enough, but when she's trying to, emote, no. But anyway, they're in Paris, France, and which is funny to me, seeing Evangelion in Paris of all places. It's just funny to me. It's funny also seeing the other characters around in plug suits. Everyone in Ville are wearing plug suits. You wearing a plug suit was something, you only could do if you were an Ava pilot, but now everyone wears a plug suit, which is kind of funny to me, I've seen, like, a bunch of people complain about that kind of thing, where, like, man, like, they're like, oh, man, you remember when Avas used to be special, now there's, like, a bunch of Evangelions around, and now there's a bunch of people wearing plug suits around. I was like, it doesn't matter to me. But anyway, yeah, they're planning to restore Paris. They're planning to restore it back to normal, because during the events, or at least the end of the events of Evangelion 2.0, obviously Shinji unleashes Near Third Impact. And Near Third Impact essentially just, was it the Third Impact or Near Third Impact? No, I think at the end of, like, the first movie was Near Third Impact. I think so. Like, I'm getting confused because, like, Third Impact was averted at the end of 2.0 because Karu came down, right? And then at the end, 3.0 had third. I don't know if it was like their Third Impact or like Fourth Impact they want to call it, but whatever. For now, I'm just calling it Third Impact. I'm getting my own brain confused. But anyway, at the events of 2.0, the world kind of sucks. The world's been apparently coreized, as they call it. It's been completely bathed in the color of red, been coreized, right? And they're trying to save Paris from being coreized so they can get access to the systems of Euronerve, so they can rebuild Unit 2.0 from the events of the end of 3.0. Why I say that? I mean, Unit 2 from the end of the events of Evangelion 3.0. I am sorry. I'm getting my numbers mixed. God damn it, Evangelion. So they're trying to rebuild Unit 2, and they're trying to fix up Unit 8. So this whole action set piece was revealed like a year ago. That was like the first 10 minutes of the movie where they want Studio Khara to show off to people what the movie would look like. Nerve sends in enemy Ava units known as the 4-2-As, while Mari fights them back. I don't know what much to say about this movie because it's an action set piece. It looks good, though. I think it's the best use of CGI in the movie. Personally, I believe it's not like a little out of place. Like, it's actually really well. There's some points in the movie where the CGI kind of looks off. I know some of it was done on purpose. But yeah, I think this is the best use of the CGI, and I'm glad this was the scene they showed off first because it is the first 10 minutes of the movie, and it's an explosive way to get you into the movie. Even if it doesn't like have a big impact on the movie as a whole, I believe it's a nice set piece. Anyway, Mari fights back the enemy Ava units that Nerf sits in. There's this moment where Ritsuko stands in the way of an attack. That was pretty boss of her. She just stood there like she's not giving a shit until Mari punches the enemy Ava unit out of the way. That's freaking sick. There was also Mari using the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower to penetrate an AT field, which was cooler than it needed to be. Ano is a madman. Ano is a freaking madman, and he's the only person I can come up with to think to use an Eiffel Tower as to penetrate an AT field. But yeah, that's the end of the first 10 minutes or so of the movie. Mari says she's going to find Shinji, and then we cut to Shinji, Reikyu, and Asuka. They're still traveling the coreized Earth of Evangelion. Now, Shinji is still in deep depression after the events of Evangelion 3.0. Obviously, Shinji's been through a lot. After the end of Evangelion 2.0, obviously, members of Vile hated him. People of Nerve wanted to use him. He essentially destroyed the world, and he had to suffer that blame. Kaoru shows him the truth about what he's done to the world, and Shinji... People are giving Shinji a really hard time after 3.0. A really hard time. And then, obviously, Kaoru dies after being the only person that instilled him with hope. And... yeah, it's Shinji. Of course, Shinji will be depressed. And honestly, this whole segment kind of reminds me of End of Evangelion, where he's just, like, depressed. Because at the beginning of Evangelion 3.0, I'm sorry, at the beginning of End of Evangelion, Shinji's obviously sad about, he lost his friends. Asuka doesn't want anything to do with him anymore. Well, at least at this point, because she's, in a coma. Kaoru dies. Shinji's not in the best foot, and this does remind me a lot of that. Anyway, he stays that way for nearly the first 40 minutes of the movie, so there's not much I can say about Shinji in the first bits of the movie. Because he kind of stays that way for nearly 30 to 40 minutes. It's crazy. But it's just, this is Evangelion, so Shinji's going to have to feel some pain. But everyone must feel pain. But anyway, it turns out that Toji and Hikari and Kensuke, they survived the events of the previous impacts in the previous movies and even got married to each other. And they also stay in this village known as Village 3, where survivors of the previous impacts take refuge. And it's nice to see that they survived and that they're adults, because, like, you know, obviously we know about the Curse of the Avens, Curse of the Avas, where Shinji, Asuka, Mari, and Rei, they don't age. Well, I mean, I guess I'm not going to count in the case of Rei, but in the case of at least Shinji and Asuka and Mari, they don't age, and therefore they are cursed. They're stuck in their young bodies forever. But, you know, characters like Toji, Hikari, Keisuke, they aged. They survive, and funny enough, Asuka's living with Kensuke, which is kind of funny to me. Like, and funny enough, in other media, they kind of have this thing where they push Asuka and Kensuke together. I remember they did that same thing in Evangelion Girlfriend of Steel 2, or Girlfriend of Steel 2nd, where they have Kensuke and Asuka become a pairing together if you decide to go down the Shinji and Rei route, which is pretty crazy to me. Hell, Toji's even a doctor. But Toji pretty much says he's only playing the role of a doctor. He's not an actual doctor. He just kind of learned the way. He's not like a doctor that had the same work and degrees it took to become an actual doctor. He just kind of, you know, had to do what he could to help out, and he became a doctor out of that. Now, Vile, funny enough, is actually seen in a more positive light here as they help out Village 3. They supply them with goods and other needs and with work as well. Because back in the periods where people hated Vile, I understand, people did not treat Vile pretty good because, you know, they were obviously they were really antagonistic towards Shinji. I mean, on one hand, I can understand because, you know, Shinji did destroy the world and all. But at the same time, they, like, you know, characters like Masato treating Shinji like shit. Other characters being animosity towards him. It was a little bit of a shock to some people. And there was like this scene where, like, you know, Masato was going to press the button on the DSS Joker to, you know, essentially blow Shinji up, but she couldn't do it. You know, I can understand that. You know, it was a hint to say, yeah, she couldn't, you know, really kill Shinji. You know, she's still important. She couldn't bring herself to do it. Hell, if Ritsuko had the ability to do so, she probably would have killed Shinji. If Ritsuko had that butt, she would have killed Shinji. But anyway. Now, there's nothing much I can say about the beginning of the movie, honestly. There's nothing much I can really say. It's more like a more downtime thing. I can't talk about Rei Q, though. Rei Q starts to become more curious about the world and things around her. Because, you know, honestly, our first introduction to Rei Q wasn't the best introduction. People didn't really like Rei Q because they felt that she was a watered-down, blank version of Rei, you know, Rei Ayanami. And I can understand that. Rei Q didn't get much to do, you know, like, I get that she existed for, like, just to mess with Shinji more, because Shinji comes in, he thought he saved Rei from Evangelion 2.0, and then he sees that there's this blank, even more blank and less emotive version of Rei, and she doesn't, you know, barely talk, she only does as she's ordered, basically a more regressed version of Rei, and, like, that messes with Shinji's head. Like, imagine you go out and save a person, and then you come back and see that they're not even the same person they used to be. I totally understand why Shinji and why Rei Q is there to begin with, but honestly, now seeing Rei Q starts to become more curious about the world around her, and the first section of the movie is essentially her moments to shine. She learns about animals, she learns about teamwork, babies. Honestly, it's all really cute to see Rei Q act way more expressive than the original Rei ever did. Like, she's more innocent, wholesome in this moment of the movie. Because Rei was, you can't really call Rei innocent and wholesome. Like Rei Ayanami, you can't really call her innocent and wholesome. But, like, seeing a different side of Rei, just seeing a different side of what Rei could have been in a different environment instead of growing up in Tokyo 3 and being with the bullshit that involves Nerve and Gendo. Yeah, it's nice to see what Rei could have been, and it's nice seeing that through Rei Q. It's really cute. I honestly really like these moments of the movie. You know, some people may not be happy of it. Some people still may not like Rei Q, but I personally like these moments of the movie. It's not my favorite parts of the movie, honestly, because it's a little bit too slow and down for my taste. But sometimes Evangelion needs a time to just slow things down while all the high antic insanity has been going on. Because, like, there was no downtime in Evangelion 3.0. You know, when I think about it, yeah, there was times where Shinji was in the room alone, Shinji was, you know, hanging with Kaoru, but those moments didn't feel slow to me. You know, like, it just everything felt too fast, and poor Shinji, like, holy shit, dude, like, ugh. Anyway, as I said before, Asuka stays with Kensuke. She calls him Ken, which is really funny to me, and she's generally more affectionate to him than she ever was back in the OG series. Now, obviously, you know, in the OG series, Kensuke and Toji were perverted in their own way. You know, they perved on Asuka the first time they met up. Well, mostly Kensuke. I'm sorry, mostly Toji, my bad. And, you know, it's nice to see that, you know, obviously Asuka believes herself to be much older. She's mentally much older than everyone else. She's just stuck in that body of a kid. So, you know, it's nice to see her stay with Kensuke. You know, they're actually, you know, shooting the breeze back and forth. She's actually really nice to him. Asuka is now wearing a DSS choker of her own. And the sight of seeing this causes Shinji to vomit upon remembering that he had, and that the DSS choker, his choker, killed Kaoru. Which is actually, you know, it's actually pretty funny that at first when I watched the movie for the first time, I'm wondering, why the hell is Asuka wearing a DSS choker? You know, like, why is she wearing one? It's weird because they only put the DSS choker on those who, quote unquote, awaken, you know, become God mode. But don't worry, it comes to play later in the movie. But Kensuke, honestly, it's so sad to see Kensuke and Toji trying their best, because I've never seen Shinji in a while. They haven't seen Shinji in a while. They haven't seen all the crazy shit that he's been through, but they can understand him on that level, and they're trying their best to get to him. Though it's really nice to see that they still care about Shinji after all these years, even after all the shit even after all the shit, you know, the world-ending stuff that Shinji has caused. They really do care for the guy, and they really are trying their best to get to him, and I really like that. Anyway, there's also this scene, random scene of Asuka moving around in bed. I'm not a big fan of it. I know in prior events in Evangelion series, they had Asuka in events like this. You know, like Asuka moving around because she was restless. Sorry, I'm doing this way early in the morning. But yeah, they had scenes of Asuka, you know, being restless, moving around in bed and whatnot. But I don't know, it feels a bit off in this case. There's like no reason. I get why, you know, we're going to explain it later, but like, it felt like they just wanted to do it in a moment without any kind of explanation. Yeah, I know it's a bit of foreshadowing about her current state, but I don't know, it just felt like unnecessary fan service. Look, I'm not opposed to fan service, but when it's happening unnecessarily with no reason, then I get an issue with it. Like, you know, Asuka could run around like half naked or some shit, and like it can be explained. It's like, oh no, Asuka's plug suit will burn her from the inside out. Like, he has a dumb reason, but at least it's justified in some case. I don't freaking know. I don't know, man. Jesus. Anyway, on the next day, Asuka leaves breakfast for Shinji. Shinji's still not moving. He's not budging. He's not eating. Rei Q helps out with working in the village. She's trying to learn very, very basic human concepts. I'm sorry. Oh, no, I'm yawning. Oh my god, I hate this because I was rested for this video. But anyway, yeah, she's learning very basic human concepts. Like, Rei Q does not know anything. Like, she's starting from scratch. You can argue that, hell, Rei Ayanami learned, like, she knew some shit. She just never was really expressive. But Rei Q, she's learning from the ground up, from very basic human concepts. And she's learning. She's doing her best. And I think that's very admirable. She's trying. There's a scene where Asuka force feeds the rations to Shinji in 3D. I don't know why they chose 3D to make this whole scene of Asuka trying to force feed Shinji. I honestly believe it's very awkward to look at. Honestly, it looks very awkward because, like, when I watched the movie for the first time, it felt like it came flat out of nowhere. But anyway, despite the 3D looking not so good, she does speak some hard facts to Shinji. You know, she's trying to get Shinji to listen to reason, and it's nice to see Asuka still trying to help Shinji. You know, like, Asuka in the original series, you know, she, like, in a way, like, she was pretty antagonistic, you know, saying, hey, I don't give a shit about Shinji. I mean, she wanted Shinji to get close, but at the same time, due to her own issues, she kept pushing him away. So it is nice to see Asuka trying to make an effort to get to Shinji and not have him starve to death. It's pretty nice to see, because normally she's like, oh yeah, Shinji was working out his own problems, F him, you know, whatever. But, you know, it's really nice to see Asuka trying to do this in her own way. I really appreciate that, you know. Asuka Shikinami is not the same Asuka Langley Soryu with her own baggage. You know, honestly, I still prefer Soryu Asuka. Definitely way over Asuka Shikinami, definitely. But it's nice to see Shikinami trying to make an effort, like a much more kinder version of Asuka. Don't worry, we'll get more of that later in the movie, because holy shit, there's a plot twist that I gotta really talk about that I just get confused about to this day. But anyway, Shinji, as he gained force phase, like, F this, I'm just gonna go hang out and sulk at an old nerve building that's been sitting up at near the village 3. And there's a moment in the movie where Rei Q wants her own name, because like throughout the movie, at least the first parts of it, obviously Rei, she's like, well, I'm not Rei Ayanami. She's like, I'm not Rei Ayanami, but everyone's like, oh, she's a lookalike. So, they gave her the name Miss Lookalike, but, there's some village ladies who are like, well, we don't want to call you Miss Lookalike. You gotta have a name, you have a name. And Rei Q decides, I want my own name. I do want my own name. And she thinks about it. And then there's Asuka. Rei Q decides to go talk to Asuka, which is funny to me. Like, normally you never see these two ever talk, but it's nice to see. Like, I remember this moment in Evangelion 2.0 where like Asuka and Rei, they don't have a conversation, but like, it's like a nice, like the fact that Rei gets Asuka to smile, which is actually very crazy in that movie. But Asuka mentions that Eva pilots she mentions to Rei Q that Eva pilots have inhibitors in them as to not breach human limits. And that the Ayanami series was designed by Nerve to hold affection for Shinji. So, there's that. Though Rei Q claims that she doesn't care and is fine with how she feels. And it's actually really sweet. Like, she doesn't care about the whole extra bullshit that Asuka talked about. She just wants to go see Shinji and how he's doing. I like that. That's nice. Some people just may not like Rei Q, but I think that she's really a really sweet character, and it's really sweet to her trying to, even though she's not understanding why she's doing this, she does still care for Shinji. He tried to make an effort, and she's trying to make an effort. And it's just sweet to see. This is Evangelion, where characters do not even want to get close to each other in the OG series. So seeing them trying to make an effort and rebuild, it's really nice to see. It's like something where like, it's like the development they could have had carried over, you know what I mean? Could have carried over into this series. It's really good to see. I honestly really like it. But anyway, Asuka is pretty chill. Asuka's really chill. She tells Rei Q to go off and see Shinji, and she says to take some rations with him so he can eat. Asuka's not gonna sit down and let Shinji, starve to death. She's like, take the rations, and he's gonna die if he doesn't eat. So I like that. Anyway, Rei Q goes out to meet Shinji. She brings him both the rations, and she brings the tape player from the previous movie, because she picked up the tape player back in 3.0. Shinji just slaps it away. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He just wants to be alone. So, Rei decides, she just drops him the food, and she says she'll come back another time. And again, it's really nice. It's really, really nice to see this. I know I keep repeating the same thing again and again, but there's something about this that's really wholesome. It's like when it's like, it reminds me of back in 2.0, where like Shinji was trying to make an effort to get closer to Rei, and Rei starts to open up more around. Rei was even going to have a meal made. She was actually going to make a meal for Shinji and Gendo. So like seeing Rei Q essentially just do that, she's trying to help, like, get closer to Shinji and bring him food as well. It's like if Rei Ayanami is continuing to do what she would have done if she wasn't stuck in Unit 1 in the Rebuild series. I like that. It reminds me, it's like Rei Q is continuing to do what Rei Ayanami could have done. Again, like, damn it, dude. Love it. Love it. Anyway, next begins a montage of Rei working in the village. She gains more experience. She's even going to school. Like, they had like this little scene where like there's like kids in a classroom, and Rei is sitting in the classroom. Rei Q is sitting in the classroom seat. It's so cute, dude. I don't know why. Like, I'm gushing about all this shit. It's really wholesome. You don't get nothing wholesome in regards to Evangelion. Just to see this, it's like a breath of fresh air. Yeah, Evangelion 2.0 had more wholesome moments than anything, to the very end at least. But like, it's nice to see. It's so good, so good. She even takes the time to send Shinji food and just stand there. They have scenes where like Shinji is just sitting there, and Rei Q just stands there watching him. She brings him food. She just stands there and watching over him. Oh my god, my heart. Anyway, so like after a while, Shinji lets loose his sadness and anger about how he destroyed the world twice over at this point. But Rei Q assures him that they still like him. It even thinks, and even after all the shit that Shinji caused, you know, Rei Q still believes, he still says, we still like you, Shinji. You know, you didn't do this on purpose. You did not hurt, you didn't mean to cause all this on purpose. And like, she says, we still like you, Shinji. And like, she even says, thank you for trying to talk to her back in 3.0. And Shinji just breaks down. You know, Shinji just breaks down because like, it's like really good to see, to be honest. She even used Hikari's words from earlier, because like back in earlier in the movie, Rei didn't know concepts like, you know, good morning, good night, you know, stuff like that. So when she uses Hikari's words of like, here's the hope, a better future for us. Here's the hope we can, see each other in a better light. Shinji just breaks down and like, really good. You know, like it's nice to see Shinji, get over this stuff, because like when it's like in my voice is stuttering. In End of Evangelion, Shinji was so broken that like it took to freaking Yui to wake up herself to try to save Shinji. Now obviously he couldn't go and help Asuka back in End of Evangelion because Ava. Let me slow down a bit. My brain is like screwing me over right now. Let me do this over. Shinji could not help Asuka back in End of Evangelion because Unit 1 was being covered by Bakelite. And like he couldn't go in and save Asuka. And I feel like if he was able to access Unit 1, he could have saved her. And showing the manga, he could have easily done that. So like, yeah. But yeah, just seeing them try to get close together is nice. Anyway, Shinji comes back to the village thanks to Rei Q's words. And he goes with Kensuke to check out the village's infrastructure. He shows Shinji a pillar that was created by Vile to prevent the land from being ruined in red. It's like the rest of the world is colorized from the events of Evangelion 3.0, right? So like, there's these pillars that Vile created to prevent colorization. That's what we should see in the original first few minutes of the movie, where they had like a pillar to save save Paris to get access to Euronerve. And Vile gave Village 3 one of these pillars to prevent the world of land from being colorized. And there's also these random Ava units that sprout out from the ground, which Kensuke calls wanderers, and they're being kept away by the pillars. Kensuke says if something happens to the pillars, they're all screwed, and I could definitely understand that. Like, these Ava units would probably trample all over and kill them all. I don't know how the colorization works in this case. Like, I know they save it, but I don't know if being under the influence of Korra would like kill you or anything, or like they couldn't live in that kind of place or whatever. I don't know, but like it's not healthy. People have to wear like suits to stay away from that shit. So totally understand that. Anyway, Rei Q goes back to Shinji so that he can give her a name, as she says she wants to stay in the village. But sadly enough, this is Evangelion, and we can't have nice things all the time, because it is revealed that Rei Q is now going through degradation, since she's not bathing in LCL anymore, and therefore her body is now degrading. And damn it, that's sad though. It's really sad to see Rei Q start to die now, which is sad because she showed a lot of growth in just this short amount of time. You can see her more. And it's sad. This is Evangelion. They give me something nice, just snatch it away from me. Anyway, later on in the village section of the movie, Kensuke's father passes away. And he tells Shinji that he should spend time with Gendo. Kensuke says that he didn't spend enough time with his father. And that he said that Shinji should do the same with Gendo. He should spend more time with him. Asuka's like, well, this is Gendo Ikari we're talking about. It's too hard for Gendo to open up, But Kensuke said that the bond between father and son are always there. And it comes to play very beautifully near the end of the movie, but I'll talk about that later. So later on, Shinji meets Ryoji Kaji, but not not Ryoji Kaji. Ryoji Kaji, the son of Misato and Ryoji Kaji. But yeah, Kensuke explains that Ryoji here doesn't know anything about his parents. He doesn't know that Masato, he doesn't know Masato's his parent. He doesn't know about Ryoji, his dad. So he's just in the village just staying here, which is pretty funny. It's a shame that Ryoji Kaji doesn't really the son. He doesn't play much part in the movie anyway, and it kind of bums me out because I figured that he's going to have a bigger role in the movie. So anyway, Shinji meets up with Rei Q at the abandoned Nerve building. And she tells him that while she likes staying at the village, she can't stay there forever. She admits that she likes Shinji, that she wanted to know more about the village, but sadly, she bursts back into LCL and dies on the spot. And it's honestly really sad, though. I got really attached to Rei Q over the course. I think they did her pretty well, for her learning things. And it's so sad just to see her die after she's come this far. They barely did shit with her back in Evangelion 3.0, but now she's actually, learning and being wholesome and cute, and then she dies. it sucks. I actually got attached to Rei Q super fast, and now she's dead. Holy shit. But the one thing I like about this scene, it shows that Shinji's sad, but he cries it all out. He goes back to the Wunder and to Vile like a boss with Asuka. He just straight up was like, I'm going to go back. Normally characters people have to drag Shinji back, but no, he's willing to go back himself, and I like that. Back in the Wunder, Sakura gets pissed that Shinji yells at him and says, "You weren't supposed to pilot an Ava. What the hell's wrong with you?" She slaps him and yeah. So we get more of Midori in this, context. Midori, the pink-haired woman from Evangelion 3.0. Again, I'm not a fan of her voice acting. Don't care for it. She sounds awful. Really awful. The direction is bad. Studio Kara, I hate you. Anyway, she holds a lot of hate towards Shinji as her family was killed in the third impact. So, we're getting more of her. I feel like we were going to get more of her anyway due to her design. She doesn't look like any of the members of Vile. Other members of Vile could blend in with each other, but Midori looked a little bit sus. She looked pretty sus that she could be like her own character, with the pink hair and the design, the way she looks like. So I feel like, they were going to make her look. They're going to make her important somehow, in some way. So, yeah, it's nice to see it here, even if I don't care for her all that much. So it's revealed that Ryoji Kaji, the real one, he pulled off an off-screen moment of epicness. He was somehow able to stop the third impact. I don't know how he did that, but apparently he was able to stop the third impact. Now, I know there was scenes in the movie where he was with Karu at some points in the movie. So I don't know if they worked together because Karu was the one who threw down the Spear of Longinus, I think. I don't know if it was Longinus or Cassius, I can't remember. But he threw down the Spear to strike Shinji before, third impact could destroy everything. So, yeah, Kaji somehow stopped third impact with Karu, maybe. I don't know. Don't know if they tag teamed on that, but Kaji did it. He stopped third impact like a boss. Off screen, sadly enough, because saw that happen. But yeah. Anyway, Gendo and Fuyusuki, we're showing more about what's going on at Nerve. Gendo and Fuyusuki, they begin their move. Fuyusuki mentions that Rei Q was known as Ayanami number 6, so there had to have been 5 more Ayanamis before all that. Yeah, I don't know. Guys. I'm just throwing out what I remember from the movie. And he asked if Gendo had Rei break down so that Shinji would know what Gendo feels like. He essentially would say, "Oh yeah, Shinji, you need to know the same despair that I felt when I lost Yui. So here's a Rei, and then she died. Deal with it." Yeah, it's kind of effed up, but it comes to play later in the movie. Trust me. I like saying this shit because it does come to play later. So they're at the ground zero of the second impact. So Vile and Nerve are ready to have their final showdown at ground zero of the second impact, where they have all the Vessel of the Atoms gathered. Apparently, when I remember earlier about the Vessel of the Atoms back in Evangelion 3.0, I think they refer that as to all the Evangelions because they're all atoms, which I was like, oh. Okay, it's kind of cool. I thought it was just something specific. No, they're Evangelion units. So I was like, oh, I was kind of expecting something else, but okay. But anyway, they're ready to activate. They're getting ready to activate Unit 13. There's also this weird scene where Fuyusuki repeats his lines for some reason. Like, I think he says it was something. I forget what he said, but he says something. It was all a matter of time, and then he repeats it again right after he said it. I'm like, what is this? What the shit? He just says it in a different inflection. So I don't know if that was a scene. I don't know if that was a line they had in the movie, and they had Fuyusuke say it again, but accidentally left to take it out of the movie. That bothers me. If anyone knows what the hell that's about, please inform me. If you've watched the dub, I don't know if it's in the sub version, but like, please tell me because it sounds really awkward. Anyway. I do like the somber part of the movie, where they have the members of Vile getting ready to storm Nerve HQ. It's like this final thing, they're having like bandanas wearing of their old comrades. They're ready. They're talking about, if they can make it through. Hyuga, and God damn it. Like our other members are actually just saying goodbye. Like it's like a sad goodbye. It has this somber music playing in the background. I didn't look at what the song was because I forgot to do it before I started recording this video. But I really dig this scene. It's actually a really sad scene. It feels like we're all going to die. So this is our last showdown here. I like it, really. Also during this, after the scene's over, Shinji and Mari, they finally have a proper introduction because they met back in Eva 2.0. And it was like, Mari crashing in on Shinji. And in Eva 3.0, they really didn't have much of a conversation, really. Like, at all. Eva 3.0 was more worried about... Sorry. Eva 3.0 was more worried about doing its own thing, so, there was no time for Shinji to even meet Rei then. Shinji to meet Mari then. Asuka admits her feelings for Shinji in the past, She admits that she had a crush on Shinji in the past, but now, she's over him now. She's apparently grown ahead of him now, So, she's moving on with herself, which is actually, it's weird to see Shinji and Asuka not get together in this movie. You figured that would have been the final pairing, but, like, knowing that Asuka's, mentally much older than Shinji, and now she's moving on with her life, it's, in a way, it's kind of nice to see. It's like Anno saying that, yeah, guys, like, these characters have their own lives. They're not going to be forced together because you want them to. I kind of see that as Anno telling us that, which I kind of admire that. Some people just kind of went the route of saying, yeah, Shinji and Asuka definitely were going to get together, but I don't know. Well, they weren't my favorite pairing, but I feel like that was been obvious they were going to get together, but it's nice to see Rebuild kind of steer away from that. Anyway, Wunder, to get into a good action set piece, Wunder finally launches off and they head over to Ground Zero, but Fuyusuke intercepts them and he trying to buy time in order for Unit 13 to be activated. And a big mega flight scene takes place. Apparently he can pilot the Guardians of the Gates of Guff. Like it's weird and there's a lot of stuff happening in this one scene, but honestly there's not much to me to say about this set piece. There's not really anything much to say. It's just like, two ships fighting each other. Unit 2 and Unit 8 are launched off to fight back Nerve's Avas. There's these weird Ava arms, I've been calling them. Like, they're like Unit 13 arms. I remember they remind me of like those core blocks we've seen like in the previous movie, kinda. So Ava arms, I'm just gonna call them Ava arms, attack Asuka and Mari. Asuka attacks Unit 13, but Unit 2 prevents her from attacking 13. She apparently says that Unit 2 is afraid of Unit 13, and that's why it cannot attack, because it's using its own AT field to hold it back. Because Asuka mentions that Unit 13 is not supposed to have an AT field. So yeah, there's that. The Chamber of Guff, or the Door of Guff, or the Gates of Guff. Honestly, they've been calling it so many things in Evangelion. I'm just gonna call it the Chamber of Guff because that's what it sounds like to me. That's what they call it in the original series. I'm calling it the Chamber of Guff here. Anyway, the Chamber of Guff opens up to reveal the Cavalry base, where the events of the Second Impact happened. Where Dr. Katsuragi happened, where Masato got rescued from. She got sent off after the events of Second Impact. And Gendo, he floats down like a god, and he says that he's going to plan to trigger something known as another impact, or an additional impact. He's basically just going to cause another impact. So they don't have a name for this one. They're going to call it another impact or additional impact. So I'm just going to call it additional impact, because that's what Gendo calls it later in the movie. So Asuka reveals that the Ninth Angel that kind of wrecked her back in Eva 2.0. It fused with her, and she can essentially go God mode like Shinji did back in Eva 2.0. Now she goes God mode to try to attack Unit 13. However, it didn't work because Unit 13 had awoken first, and it absorbs Asuka. And then like the movie, then like out of nowhere, another Asuka pops up inside Asuka. Okay, how to describe it? So, okay, let me know how to describe this. Asuka had the knife angel inside her eye patch, okay? And it revealed that the angel fused with her. And it kind of, sets up stuff into place of why her eye glowed blue at certain points in Eva 3.0. Stuff like that. So, then when she unleashes the angel, she goes God mode like Shinji did back in Evangelion 2.0 at near the end of that movie. So she goes God mode to try to attack Unit 13, but it didn't work because Unit 13 had awoken first. It triggered when she triggered her awakening, and then it absorbs her within it. Then another Asuka pops in with, this regular Asuka. She has both of her eyes. She pops in, and then she does the whole wing thing she did back in Eva, 2.0? I think it's like, it was symbolizing that, like, when Asuka got merged with the angel back in 2.0, she gained these little energy wings and floated off deeper inside the Eva. So like this doing the same thing where Asuka with the wings, she pulls Shikinami away with the wings and fully absorbed by the angel and then fully absorbed by Unit 13. So then Wunder is hacked into by Fuyusuki using another Evangelion unit. Meanwhile, Shinji is released from the commotion happening on Wunder, and then he escapes, and then like apparently the Black Moon, like not the same Black Moon from End of Evangelion, but this new Black Moon that's shaped like I don't know what it's shaped like. It reminds me of one of those spools. I don't know why. It reminds me of like an overglorified black spool. But anyway. The Black Moon is then turned into spears, right? It's turned into spears. And then Gendo drops down. And after being shot in the face by Ritsuko, which is actually reminiscent of the scene from End of Evangelion, where she was going to shoot him but failed because the Magi said, lol, nope. The Magi / Naoko Akage said, lol, nope. She couldn't shoot him. Anyway, it's shown that Gendo had fused with the key of Nebuchadnezzar and had become a higher being with his visor coming up his hollowed out face. Honestly, I remember seeing the key of Nebuchadnezzar, and obviously that was going to be the replacement for Adam. They used Adam for a different purpose in Rebuild of Evangelion, so yeah, we weren't going to get the same Adam business back in this movie. The key of Nebuchadnezzar was going to take place to Adam. And then at the end of Evangelion, obviously Gendo had fused with Adam, and now Adam was part of his hand. He needed Adam to fuse with Lilith to create his own human instrumentality project, right? And I remember in the manga where Gendo fused with Adam, he was able to utilize an AT field and utilize the almighty god powers of Adam. But in this movie, they actually go way deep into it. He ain't got no good face anymore. His face is hollowed out and shit like that. Yeah, Gendo's a monster, and I actually kind of wanted to see it. After seeing what they did with him in the manga and actually see him utilize Adam's powers, I'm kind of glad they went this far with him using the powers of the key of Nebuchadnezzar here. Gendo, now this godlike hollowed out face being, he brings up that the Ayanami and Shikinami type pilots have been planned out for his version of human instrumentality. Now, I can understand what he meant by Ayanami but he brought up the Shikinami type projects. I was like, don't tell me Asuka's a clone. Don't tell me that's some bullshit that Asuka's like some kind of not inhuman clone, but don't worry, we'll get to that later in the movie because it comes out of left field, but we'll talk about that later. Anyway, Unit 13 eats Asuka, and then it goes God mode like it did back in Evangelion 3.0. It unleashes a ton of Eva infinities with human souls within them, and Gendo needs them for human instrumentality. Shinji drops down to confront Gendo, but he never gets a chance to actually talk about. Like, it's a small scene where Shinji comes down to talk to Gendo. He's like, "Father." Gendo straight up ignores Shinji and hops into Unit 13. God Mode 3 and 13. He also takes Unit 2's remnants with him. But I don't know, something about that scene I like, because when Shinji tries to confront Gendo, Gendo just doesn't even acknowledge him. He just goes into Unit 13 and goes. You know? It actually feels like Gendo just like doesn't give a shit anymore. Anyway, Ritsuko explains that beyond the Chamber of Guff is a place known as the Anti-Universe, a place where even the god-slaying Wunder can't even hope to reach, and that they can't really do anything about it. So Shinji straight up says, you know what, okay, I'll pilot Unit 13, and I'll go straight. So, why say Unit 13, my bad. Shinji says that he'll go off into the Anti-Universe. He'll go straight off into the Anti-Universe and can confront Gendo. And he takes the burden off Masato, because it's revealed that Masato blames herself for, you know, wanting Shinji to, you know, like encouraging Shinji to break past, you know, his restrictions, you know, like, because like back in Eva 2.0, you know, Shinji goes God mode, and Masato eggs him on. She says, yeah, do this for yourself. Do this because you want to. You can do it, Shinji. And then Masato feels as if she's to blame for that, because she didn't really think about what that would entail. You know, she said, Shinji, you know, do it for yourself, but she didn't really think about the consequences of Shinji doing that. And Masato really does blame herself for that. And I'd like to see that. And nice to see that. I knew Masato definitely couldn't have been all the way evil. This is Masato we're talking about here. So it's nice to get more context in that. And, you know, Shinji says, I'm going to take the burden off you, Masato. You know, you've done all this for me. I'm going to do this for you. You know, you've done too much for me, so I got you, Masato. Midori, however, she arrives and threatens to shoot Shinji before he gets into another Evangelion unit out of hatred, and she calls Shinji a plague. She calls Shinji a plague. It's like, look, dude, every time you get into an Eva, you just cause destruction. So can you just die? Like, literally, we don't need you right now. And then Sakura Suzuhara, she then shows up and then shoots at Shinji too. She says that she doesn't want him to pilot an Eva, but she only wants to wound Shinji. You know, she doesn't. You know, she's just trying to prevent any way he can get into an Eva. Like, Midori was going to straight up kill Shinji. Sakura couldn't bring herself to do that, and she just wants, you know, to wound him so he won't get into an Eva. When Sakura fires a shot again, Masato takes the bullet for him instead, and she says that she takes full responsibility for his actions here on there. The two make amends, which is really nice, and Shinji also brings up the fact that he met Ryoji Kaji before, like Masato's son, and she says, is he okay? Shinji's like, yeah, you know, I only met him for a short while, but I like the guy, you know? It was nice to see that. It's nice it's funny to see that Masato has a parent, but she couldn't really face her kid after the events of this the prior movie. Well, before that, because Ryoji's like 14 now, so it's, you know, whatever. So Unit 8 comes in. It's, you know, it's been absorbing other Evangelion units. It absorbed units 9, 10, 11, and 12. So, which is funny to me. And so now new God mode Unit 8 comes in to help Shinji out. And then they dive into the anti-universe. And honestly, Shinji's actually really chill. You know, despite like all this crazy shit's happening, Shinji is actually really chill and level-headed in this situation. He's not freaking out. He's not going nuts. He's not, you know, screaming. You know, he's like actually really calm in the situation. Like, Shinji knows what to do. He's ready to go, and I like that. I really do like that. Anyway, Shinji makes his way to Unit 1, where the soul of Rei has been waiting for him this entire time. Rei now has long hair, because she has been in Unit 1 for all these years now, all 14 of these years, ever since Evangelion 2.0, because like when she was absorbed into Unit 2, her soul was absorbed into Unit 1. She's been sitting there the whole time, and she has long hair, which is actually really crazy. She said she was in there so that Shinji wouldn't have to pilot it. You know, she's like, I've been piloting for you, Shinji. I also don't have to do it for you. And that was the same thing she said back in 2.0 when she took the suicide attack with the N2 mine, when she was trying to attack the final angel back in Evangelion 2.0. She's like, I'm doing this so he wouldn't have to pilot again. And it's nice to see that Rei was still holding on after all this time. She was still, you know, quote-unquote, piloting Unit 1 so Shinji wouldn't have to. And that's nice. You know, Rei is such a doll. You know, Rei, like, not a natural doll. I mean, like a nice girl. Nice girl. She's doing her best. Rei Q did her best. Rei Ayanami did her best, and I like that. But now Shinji takes over, ready to throw down with his dad. Shinji's ready to get in the unit and ready just to fight the shit out of his dad, which is something I've always wanted to see. I've always wanted to see like a throwdown between Shinji and Gendo. I mean, I don't know how that would happen because, you know, Shinji wouldn't be able to punch his dad. So seeing them two fighting Evangelion units is actually pretty cool. Anyway, it's also revealed that Shinji's sync rate wasn't 0, but the closest thing to 0 is apparently infinite. So Shinji's sync rate is actually infinity. Actually, that's pretty metal. I mean, yeah, it feels kind of, you know, a little bit too much for my taste that they would actually make Shinji's sync rate infinite like that, you know, like. But I'm okay with it. I'm not gonna trip over it. It's the final Evangelion movie. If they're gonna make things go all out, then I'm cool with it. So Gendo and Shinji, they begin a fight throughout the anti-universe, and the anti-universe is actually this place where like LCL can turn your thoughts into, I guess, a reality. So like they can fight in various places. Like they're big Evangelion units. They can fight off in a like in Masato's house. They can fight in a classroom. They even fought in Tokyo 3 prior to this. Like Shinji gets punched through like Masato's house and ends up in a set. It's supposed to be like this meta thing, you know. It's supposed to be like really meta, kind of like that, because like this starts to invoke the wackiness of, you know, previous Evangelion media, the wackiness and all this crazy shit going on. I was like, oh yeah, Shinji gets to fight Gendo, and then he gets punched through a goddamn freaking TV set, which is actually pretty crazy. Shinji isn't able to do anything to Gendo. And Gendo straight up says, yeah, fighting like this isn't going to solve anything. You know, like, you know, violence and conflict like this, it's not going to solve anything. It's really not going to solve anything. So you might as well just, you know, just not even try. So one thing I do like about this is that Shinji and Gendo, after a little fight, they get to talk. And I mean, like, actually talk with each other. Because throughout all of Evangelion's media, Shinji and Gendo never actually sat down to talk with each other. And I feel like this is the best part of the movie, where they just actually get to settle down and we can hear more of Gendo. Gendo reveals his master plan, the additional impact that he needs to carry. He talks about how he needs to carry out additional impact and how he needed 2 spears to pull it off. Longinus and Cassius, that's where we saw them stuck back into, like, that's where we saw him back in Evangelion 3.0, like when we needed the spears, but like Carl was like, no, Shinji, don't pull the spears, that's what Gendo wants. And, you know, honestly, we wouldn't know that till now. Honestly, when I think about it more, Evangelion 3.0 does feel like a goddamn prologue to this movie. A really expensive, long prologue. It's maddening. Funny enough, matching these 2 movies together do fit. So, like, now you got a 4-hour Evangelion movie. Damn. Anyway, Masato says, okay, well, shit, Shinji needs a way to, you know, beat Gendo and save the world. So what we need to do is we're going to use Wunder's god powers. We're going to use Wunder's powers to create their own spear and bring it to Shinji. They're going to create their own miracle spear, the Spear of Hope, to try and give to Shinji. So Gendo goes off to show Shinji a Black Lilith. But he actually explains that this is not, like, he thinks it's Lilith, but it's actually Evangelion imaginary. A fictional Eva. It's funny, even to this day, like I keep saying even to this day, even though I saw this movie like a week ago, like I find it funny that like this is like Evangelion imaginary, like they're pulling off fiction. They're like getting really, really meta about this, and I like it. You know, like Evangelion was right to get meta, and I've been waiting for something like this to happen for a little while now. It's like I wonder how 3.0. I wonder how 3.0 is going to like handle, like, you know, if they're going to like tie the entirety of Evangelion to it, or if they were going to end off with just the Eva rebuild. But like when they bring up this Evangelion imaginary stuff and like the fictional worlds and whatever, they're pulling like all of Eva's media into this. I actually really like it. I'm not gonna lie. Like they're pulling like Anno is like trying to drag in like all of Eva's media into this. Like the only reason like Black Lilith's in the way it is because it's from Shinji's memories. Because they've been fighting the places where it's like, you know, from Shinji's memories. Tokyo 3, Masato's house, the school. Like it's all from Shinji's memories. Like it's crazy. Crazy. I still can't get over that. But anyway, additional impact finally begins. And, you know, they're still trying to invoke the feeling of how third impact happened, human instrumentality happened in Evangelion, end of Evangelion. Now, obviously, this is not going to beat the sheer madness of End of Eva. No way you can beat the third impact in End of Evangelion. There's no way. They try, but it's not the same. Though there are some things that throw me off. For example, Giant Naked Ray this time is now in realistic CGI. I understand some people have some people don't like it. Honestly, I prefer Giant Naked Ray from the original End of Evangelion, because not only it was creepy, but it was creepy in the way that you thought, holy shit, this is cool, this is so creepy. But in Evangelion, in 3.0 plus 1.0, Giant Naked Ray has a realistic CGI face. And yeah, I see some people just laughing about that. Some people say it's creepy, it's Uncanny Valley, but on the other hand, I can see some people just laughing about it, and I don't want that scene to be a joke. And it kind of feels like a joke when you think about it. I get it. I get why the directors and Anno went for it. It just I'm not a fan of it, honestly. It looks fine, but I get it. It's supposed to look creepy, but I feel like it looks more it could be taken in a comedic sense, and it's gonna ruin the whole seriousness of the scene. But whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, where was I? I'm trying to remember events of the movie as I'm going. I'm sorry. It's been a while because I didn't get to watch the movie right as I made this video. It's been days since I've seen the movie. So anyway, Mari reveals that she is actually much older than she really was, as in the very Mari from the manga who knew Yui and Gendo back in the day. Now, obviously, this can't be the same Mari, because I think the artist for the Evangelion series, Maya Sakamoto, they mentioned that Mari, this isn't the same Mari from the Rebuild continuity, right? But so this is Rebuild's version of Mari, in that she knew Fuyutsuki, Gendo, and Yui back in the day. And also Fuyutsuki calls her Mary Iscariot, or I think in the Japanese version, Maria of Iscariot. I don't know if that's just another biblical reference, because it is, but I don't know if that's going to be her real name, or just I don't know. I don't know if her Maria of Iscariot. I think it's just a thing Fuyutsuki said. I don't think that's her real name. I think it's just a biblical name they're using, because that just brings up a lot of shit that I'm not even gonna get into right now. A lot of theory cracking. Not gonna do it. Anyway, as I said before, Mari absorbed units 9, 10, 11, and 12 inside Unit 8. And then Mari takes... sorry. Masato. It's hard to see their names side by side. Mari, Masato. Anyway, Masato takes control of the Wunder by herself to pull off a miracle so she can create a spear in order to give to Shinji. Gendo and Shinji continue their talk. It's a big moment in the movie. Honestly, it's a big moment not only for the rebuilds, but it's a big moment for Evangelion in general. Seeing Gendo and Shinji having a serious talk, having Gendo freaking spill his guts is just insane. They have unreleased music from End of Evangelion used in the background, because there's this song called it's in a bunch of numbers and called Heavy Version, and it was used in Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0. They called it Born Evil. And I like that. They actually reused a song that was supposed to be used in End of Evangelion and didn't use it. I like that. It's like something you've been stuck with the series for a while and you just picked up on some things, but now it comes full circle. I love it. Gendo still retains an AT field, meaning that he fears Shinji, because obviously we know about the AT fields being a metaphor for keeping people away from us. And so now Gendo has an AT field, even though he casted off his humanity. He still has it, and now he's afraid of Shinji. And we learned a lot more about Gendo than we did in the OG series. We learned about his childhood, about how he hated dealing with others around him, to his relationship with Yui and how he never grieved now that he was lonely. Because Gendo explains that he was never lonely back in the day because he never made a connection with people. He never felt lonely because he never made a connection with anyone to begin with. But when he met Yui, he felt happiness, and now that she was taken away from him, he felt lonely for the first time in his life. Honestly, in the original series, we didn't know much about Gendo. We knew Gendo, his backstory, but the first backstory we ever got from Gendo was when he worked that nerve, when he was still dating Yui, he was about to get married to Yui. I think the furthest back we knew was but when Fuyusuke kind of bailed him out when he was still Gendo Rokubungi. And like, we get more of Gendo. We never got Gendo's childhood, We get Gendo's childhood, his whole life. I kind of see Ano through this, Ano's like, he never really liked dealing with people. So like, hearing how Gendo speaks, how real it feels, I do feel like Ano is speaking through Gendo in this moment. We already know that, Ano has like, various Evangelion characters speak through him. This is his series. This is like Ano through and through. But it's nice to know that like, it feels like Ano's like directly talking through us through Gendo. I really like that. Like it feels more obvious here than it ever did in Evangelion, which is really crazy. To me personally. But yeah, we know Gendo's childhood. We started learning about his adult life, teenage life. Like hearing like Gendo speak like this, we never got a chance to in the original series when we kept casting out Shinji, and then like when the moment when he finally realizes it's too late. This time Gendo he spills his guts and talks to Shinji. He talks to Shinji. Shinji sits there and listens to help him get over his problems. I really do love it. I personally think it's the best scene of the entire movie, just because we get so much about Gendo that we never got to get before, really. But Gendo finally, this is the point where Masato, she crashes into Giant Naked Rei through the Wunder, and then she, through her sacrifice and the powers of Wunder, she creates the Spear of Gaius, which is humanity's spear. See, we had the Spear of Longinus, which is what I think it was the Spear of I think it was Despair. Cassius was Hope, and now Gaius is humanity. So after talking with Shinji more, Gendo finally lets go. He accepts Shinji, and then he finally bows out of human instrumentality. Seeing Gendo hug Shinji was like such a freaking shock. It's like that surprise Pikachu face you see. Never expected it. Never thought I'd see it, but it's like finally, this series finally comes full circle, and I freaking love it. Holy shit. Anyway, so now we see Shinji help Asuka get over her issues. One thing I like about this is that like at the end of the original series, we have characters like the original OG series. We have characters all around. We got like Ritsuko, Kaji, Masato, Rei, Asuka, yada. They're trying to help Shinji get over his problems during instrumentality. But like now is Shinji helping others get over their problems during instrumentality. Shinji has finally come full circle, not only in Rebuild but from the original series as a whole. Anyway, Shinji helps Asuka get over her problems. We now get this scene where Asuka is like animated. The Shikidami section is animated in a different animation style. Love it. Honestly, if the whole movie was animated like this, holy shit, I would have lost my goddamn mind. Because the Asuka scenes for her scenes looks really good. Anyway, Asuka Shikinami is revealed to be a clone. The Shikinami series, how they mentioned before, and I'm like, a clone? What? Honestly, like, there's some foreshadowing, but it feels so out of left field. It's like, is that why she's called Shikinami? Because she's a clone? Why a clone? Like, it doesn't feel right. And then, like, it came, for me personally, well, it came really, really late. We finally get what the deal with Shikinami is, even though it doesn't feel right. Like, I don't know how to feel about the revelation that Asuka Shikinami was a clone. Because, like, how does that explain Asuka Langley Soryu? Like, how does she fit into this? Like, I know she probably doesn't, but, like, Shikinami as being a clone is, like, why? Like, why this? It's so weird. Like, whatever. Anyway, Asuka and Shinji meet up at the beach like they did in End of Evangelion. Asuka is now fully grown up. She's finally her age now. And Shinji admits that he liked her as well. And then he manages to eject her from Unit 13. It's nice to see Asuka and Shinji admit their feelings for each other. And even though while they're not going to get together, it's nice to see that they actually admit their feelings for one another. It's maddening. It's just something I never expected to see ever in my life. Now Shinji helps Kaoru. Now, Kaoru has been like an elusive character. We didn't get much of Kaoru's deal ever, But now we actually get a lot more of him. Kaoru wanted to give Shinji happiness, but in a way misunderstood it. He believed that giving Shinji happiness would actually just give him happiness. And Kaoru also added some validity to the loop theory that people kept coming up with about the series.
as he is both the first and 13th angel. He reveals that he's been in a constant loop of, meeting Shinji, going to the same events over and over again, repeating the same cycle again and again. That his and Shinji's names were in the Book of Life. Like, it's kind of crazy that the loop theory has some validity to it. And it's nice to see that freaking Shinji and Kaoru actually get to talk out their issues, because we didn't get much of Kaoru ever. We don't get much of Kaoru outside of, hey, I'm an angel. I like you, Shinji, but I gotta betray you. So yeah, it was nice to see more of that. And apparently Kaji and Kaoru had a friendly relationship, because Kaji refers to Kaoru as Commander Nagisa. I don't know how to interpret that, but considering that maybe in this, because we don't know in this continuity, well, actually, yes, we do. In this continuity, that Kaoru was still part of Seele. Well, was part of Seele until he was part of Nerve, until Nerve took over Seele. So his continuity, I guess, makes sense because, Kaji was playing both sides of the field, so I can see why Kaoru was referred to as Commander Nagisa. I kind of get it. But anyway, now, finally, Shinji helps Rei, and he vows to rewrite the world without Evangelion. A new Neon Genesis, so to speak. Yui comes in clutch. First of all, before I talk about Yui, it's nice to see that Shinji is actually helping all these characters out. He's finally helping Rei move on with her life. Rei gets to finally be in a world where she doesn't have to follow orders or be around people who get to treat her like nothing. She gets to live free in an alternate world, a brand new world. And anyway, Yui comes in clutch and pushes Shinji away from the Spear of Gods before it strikes him down. Every single Eva that has appeared in the series, with the exception of Unit 8 at this very moment, is officially destroyed, and the world is now without the existence of Evangelion. It's funny to see that Shinji rewrote the world without Evangelion, because at the end of Evangelion, the reminder of Evangelion is still there, because there's the mass-produced Eva units just still sticking out of the ground, out of the ocean at the end of the series. So it's like while Unit 1's in space forever, for all eternity, along with Yui, this is in the Evangelion is still a reminder that Evangelion is still here, and all this shit happened because of Evangelion. Crazy. But yeah, Mari comes down. She meets Shinji, runs up to Mari, and then Eva Unit 8 goes away as the final Evangelion. They break down this animation in a way where it's kind of reminiscent to the original OG series, where as Shinji sits on the shore, the scene breaks down from from the actual animated to sketches to the rough storyboard drafts. There's also the scene where Evangelion Unit 8 breaks down and it looks awkward as shit. I get what they're going for, but it looks awkward. But at the very end, Shinji and Mari are seemingly now in a relationship with each other. A bunch of people are freaking out over that. A lot of people hate it. Some people don't care. I personally don't care about the relationships in Evangelion. Hell, if I had everything my way, I won't lie. If I had everything my way, Shinji would have ended up with Rei. I don't give a shit. If everything in Evangelion went my way, Shinji would have ended up with Rei. I know why people would hate that, but if I had everything my way, Shinji would have ended up with Rei. I don't care. I don't care what anyone says. I would have totally done it. But personally, if he ended up with Mari, I don't care either. Mari is my favorite character, and she definitely doesn't have enough, to her compared to the other characters in Evangelion. But I'm not gonna trip over it. Shinji's happy. Mari's happy. Who cares? As long as Shinji's happy, doesn't matter, really. They're both happy. But now, the entire Evangelion gang, they're in a brand new world, living out their lives, which is now shown to be our real world. They're living in our world. This is the world without Evangelion is our world, the Neon Genesis. And with that marks the end of all of Evangelion. And that's it. I explained the movie from forward to backwards. And now, what are my overall thoughts for this film being the very end of all of Evangelion? You know what? Honestly, when I first watched the movie for the very first time, I had a few gripes, right? I had a few gripes. It didn't hit as much as I thought it would. But watching the movie again gave me some perspective. I actually enjoyed this movie a lot more the second time around than I did the first time around, honestly. Because when I watched the movie the first time, there were some things that really bothered me. But as I watched it again, there were some things I just forgot. There were some things I forgot. There were some things I didn't really pay attention to. But then I started, writing down my notes. I started talking about the movie again, and I was like, huh, you know what? I like this. And, first of all, this also got to talk about One Last Kiss. Utada Hikaru's One Last Kiss was also... Actually, let me just talk about the music. Let me just talk about the music before I continue further about my opinions, right? Let me talk about my opinions. First of all, the music was really good. Now, I will admit that the soundtrack for this movie isn't my personal favorite. I honestly liked Evangelion's 2.0 and 3.0's music way more. But there are some nice songs in here. For example, Voices in My Head. That's the music that plays during the scene where Shinji fights Gendo. I personally believe that's a really damn good song. There was someone on Twitter who pointed out that there's some themes that play when Kaji's around. And there was a theme that related to Kaji that played during the scene where Shinji was sitting in the open field where he's talking about the scent of Earth that Kaji showed him back in Evangelion 2.0. And I like that scene. So I was like, oh, that's a nice way to point it out. It's like relates back to Kaji. Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know. The music is really good. Shirou Sagisu is a mad lad. This soundtrack's not my favorite. I will admit that. Again, 2.0 and 3.0 have my really good soundtracks in that movie. But yeah, that's that. In regards to the music, and there's also Utada Hikaru's One Last Kiss, which is also really, really good. Really good. And that's it for the music. Really good music all around. Not my favorite soundtrack, but very good music overall. Anyway, back to my thoughts of the movie. Honestly, I really, really enjoyed my time with the movie. When I think about how as I went through the movie, I stopped thinking as this being the final rebuild movie, right? And I started thinking this movie as it being the very end of Evangelion as a whole, right? Now, honestly, Ono could just easily say, yeah, more Evangelion projects could come out if I want to, but seeing this as the very end of all of Evangelion, it made the movie feel a lot different than I was expecting. When I think of this as the very end of Evangelion, it gives me some things to think about. Again, yeah, there are some things that I didn't dig about this movie, honestly. I didn't dig about how Asuka Shikinami was a clone. I didn't dig how they still didn't... they gave Mari some, more character, but they didn't, really give her much in way of... We don't know anything about her deeper struggles and what we did with the other Evangelion characters. There's some things that we just didn't get. There's some dubbing issues that I have a problem with. Sorry. There's some dubbing issues that that I didn't have the best experience with. But knowing how my journey with Evangelion came of all the way to this point, and now it ends. It's really nice. Honestly, I see some people who don't have fans of it. I basically see the bigger Evangelion fans hate this movie. But when I see it more, when I think about the journey up to this point, where I see the characters, when I hear the music, when I see Ano and how he throws his whole life on the line for these characters and for everyone to see, I really enjoyed watching. Honestly, this made me... I didn't feel super emotional like I thought I would, at something like End of Evangelion. Because End of Evangelion got some real craziness out of me, but it was a great movie. I will admit that. It was a really great movie. I had some negative feelings at first, but now when I think about it and how things come together, not only for the rebuilds, for just Evangelion in general, yeah, I believe there's some things that could have been done better. For example, I believe that instrumentality could have been done a little bit better. I know there's no way they could have topped the original version of Human Instrumentality, because that was a spectacle right there. That was a real spectacle that fit so good and yet confused the shit out of me, and still does to this day. But at the same time, I thought about this as Ano giving a modern take about, like, a take. How does Evangelion feel that Ano's now more of a positive mindset, you know? Because, you know, Evangelion was a series born out of Hideaki Anno's depression, his anger, his sadness towards otaku culture, his hatred for it. And Evangelion was born out of that pain and grief and depression. But now that Ano's in a better mindset, how would Evangelion fare? And I believe that Evangelion not only gives you a happy ending, like a really happy, more positive ending than End of Evangelion did, or the OG series did, but it also gave a look into how Ano has come far in all these years, how a man racked with depression and sadness and hatred for the world around him has come to accept the world around him and has come to actually, you know, come to peace and to terms with it, and gave these characters that were born from him a satisfying ending so they can move on just like he did. And when I see rebuild of Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 like that, and not only just that, but the entirety of Evangelion, that's what makes this movie worth it for me. You know, the 3.0 came out in 2012. So it's been 9 years since then till this movie got released. And yeah, it's crazy to say that. It's so crazy to say that. But I really enjoyed my time with it. You know, I'm happy that this is the end that Ano went to go with. Because if Ano pulled another End of Eva, and, you know, I love End of Eva. Don't get me wrong, I still love End of Evangelion is one of my favorite movies ever. But like the end of the movie was very bleak. And very unsure what is going to happen. Yeah, people can twist it to be a happy ending, but at the same time, it did feel very bleak and oppressive. But this movie gave a happy ending to these characters, gave a happy ending to the Evangelion series as a whole. And when I see Evangelion, not only as Ano's like depression and, you know, coming to terms with his happiness, but I see it as a way of like the entire series coping to try to become a better person in the end. Like if the series was a person, it'd be Ano. And Ano made Evangelion feel as if like not only it's him I'm seeing, but like if Evangelion was a person IRL coming to terms with all this stuff. That's how I see it as. And yeah, Evangelion as a whole was a wild ride. From when I was younger all the way till now, being in my mid-20s, seeing Evangelion end off like this was pretty satisfying. I will admit that. But yeah, that's the end of this video. I honestly don't know what else I can really say. I've said everything I could pretty much say about Evangelion World Rebuilds, at least. One day I want to make a mega video that has all this together, no promise. Like I want to make a super mega video that compiles all my thoughts of 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and finally 3.0 plus 1.0. That video is going to be like 5 hours long. So poor bastards who have, I'm a poor bastard for having to like make it myself and having to edit it all together. But yeah, this is it. Bye-bye all of Evangelion. It's so sad to say that. It's so sad to say that, but you know what? I think it was worth it. So, you know, without further ado, I will see you all next time. Peace, everyone. Sayonara, all of Evangelion, and sayonara, Hideaki Anno. I hope his future gets brighter from here.